So this is what you need to know. And as a user, the way to run this is you come to your console. Okay, for example, here I will run the network node, and it's very easy. I just go here, okay, and just type node network. Okay, node network, and there it is. So as you can see, I running the social graph network service running, the trading signals network service running, the network node WebSocket interface that is not at the UI, but is as of today in this current version, both interfaces are going to be running. So this is listening at this port, the HTTP interface listening at this port, and this comes from here because when you configure your network node, you define the host, the WebSocket interface, and the HTTP interface that is called web port. Somebody has to refactor this someday. Okay, so these are the same ports that are running there. Okay, so the network code name is testnet because our node is pointing to the testnet network. So this is a node now belonging to testnet. Okay, and network app. Okay, and the overall network app, that is the application that is running the node, is running. Okay, this is a message belonging to the social graph service. Okay, probably I should put these messages with a prefix of the service that is logging this stuff. Okay, that's a good idea. Okay, so one question you may ask is how does my system knows that I want to run network node number one, that by the way is not saying which one is running. Probably I should add these two, because if you see my profile, I have two network nodes, not one. Okay, so why is it running number one, that is the one connected to testnet, and not number two? Okay, the answer is because sorry, I'm going to use this workspace here to show you. First, let me close this and this. We have an environment file with all the environment definition, and there is some one of the variables that is called network. Okay, network node. Well, the variable name is called network node signing account. Not sure this is the more intuitive name, but essentially it has the code name. Probably it should be called network node code name. Okay, because this is the code name of the network node that I want to run in my current installation. Okay, so for each instance of, for each installation of Superalgos, that means that you will be able to run one node. Okay, which is kind of logical, but just clarifying that. So this here is what you see here, and that is the reason why it's running number one and not number two. Okay, there are a few other parameters that you can configure if you if we might highlight it in this way. Okay, and these are the parameters. Max incoming clients, it means how many clients, that mean applications, can connect to this node. In this case, 2. That means that more than 2 is going to start rejecting connections, okay? This is something for you to decide how many your node will accept. Then how many incoming peers connection you want to accept. In this case, we put 0 because I am always testing this in a standalone way. But normally, you should put some positive number here, like for example 10. That would mean that 10 other nodes will be able to connect to your node, okay? And how many outgoing connections this node is going to have. So this node will try to connect as many nodes as it can below the number that you configure here. So if you put 10, then it means that if it can, it will connect to 10 other network nodes on the same network, okay? And being connected to other nodes is useful for distributing the information that needs to be distributed. For example, in the case of social trading service or network service, the events that happens at the application, for example, when you follow somebody, needs to be distributed among other peers. So, and that goes through these outgoing peers connections into the incoming peer connection of the other nodes. Okay, and then they pass the information all over until all the nodes have them. Okay. Also, the trading signals, that is another network service that is already developed there, are sending the information through these outgoing connections. Okay. Okay, so this is what you need to know as a user. The final thing that I would say as a user is this concept of signing accounts. A signing account is storing the signature of the profile handle or the username at the storage provider, that in this case is GitHub, okay, storage provider. And the idea is that each entity that interacts with the network, including the network node themselves, they should have an identity that they can prove cryptographically, okay? So they need for their identity a private key, and so that's why there is this signing account, okay? Is represent a public key or a blockchain account that belongs to a private key that this network node knows, okay? So this is generated with the profile constructor that you already know when you run this procedure install signing accounts. This procedure scans all the entities that you have in your profile that needs a signing account, and it generates a random a private key, and then it signs the message that needs to be stored here in order for later to at runtime authenticating the nodes against each other or the clients that are connecting to these nodes, and making sure that you are getting somebody to connect to your node that they have a proper user profile with all the definition right and they are not impersonating anybody else. Okay, so all of this is what you need to know to run your own node. um, at this point in time, some users are starting to run their first nodes ever public at the public internet. Okay, so for the first time there will be some nodes. I know about 2 as of today. And that means that this is the birth of the Superalgos constellation of peer-to-peer networks, because there's no only one. There are publics and privates. So this is the start of all this stuff. If you want to run your own node, you just need to make this configuration in the whatever way you want. Don't forget to sign to create a signing account. Once you finish uh, all all your configurations here, you have to take into account that every time you run the procedure, all these private keys are recalculated. So that means that um, there is no big problem with that. But if you are running different machines with different nodes, okay, every time you add a new node today and you create a sign-in account for them, then you will need to copy a file with that includes the private keys. Okay, there is today we have this file that is on a git ignore folder called my secrets, that has the sign-in account secrets. That means the private key of this node with these identities. Okay. Um, so this file is generated as an output of the process of install sign-in account. So if you run the process again, make sure to copy this file to all the computers where you have your different installations that need to access the peer-to-peer network. If they don't need to access the peer-to-peer network, they don't worry because it's not useful for any other thing. Okay. Also, at this current version, that is just version number 2, we are not encrypting yet this file. This is something that is coming in future versions, so keep that in mind. This file or any of the other file, none of this file includes the private key of your profile where you're holding your SA tokens. Okay, so don't worry about that. The private key with the tokens are not stored in your computer. You're supposed to have a backup of that. Okay, the private key of this node is there at your computer. As this current version, they are not yet encrypted. They will in the future. And if the consequence, if somebody gets your private keys, that they are going to be able to run a node with your identity. I don't know if it's going to make if that is a big deal or not, but that's at least you're not going to lose your tokens. And at any time you can come, regenerate all the private keys, submit your profile again. When it gets merged, all other people in the network are going to recognize that these are private keys are news, and that you are going to be, and whoever stole your private keys of these nodes, it will be useful for them. Or I mean, not useful for them, useless. Okay. Okay. One detail of what I said is that today, when you submit a pull request and it's submitted your profile, any node that is already running, okay, is not going to detect the changes. That is not something that has been coded yet. It's pending for a future version. So until people stop and restart their nodes, they are not going to see the changes on somebody else's profile, because the profile information are loaded and analyzed at the moment the node is started only. Okay, so there is no procedure to detect changes on the fly as of today. Okay, so this is enough information for you to play with this, to test it, to create a node and to make it join the testnet network. That is where people have created a few nodes so far. Okay, so okay, now I will jump into an explanation for developers that would like to see how the code is organized